On Instagram. And we're live on Facebook on J.R. Weirman's personal page. We are here in the Weirman Media Studios, folks, thinking of you. Once again, your attention is our oxygen, and we are here in the Weirman Media Studios, and I was last night and now thinking of you guys and how we could spread some love and spread some value and bring intellectual insider perspective from our end to our audience, or you people and whoever's tuning in or whoever likes, shares, whoever subscribes and interacts with the Two Brothers Duo on a regular basis in Weirman Media content, whether it's Isaiah's page, my page, or if it's the More Love Nation clothing line, or if it's any of us, any and all of our brand. We appreciate you. So, and the concept and idea that we want to talk about today is what, Zaya? It's on what?
Sorry, I was drinking something. Today we're going to discuss how the social value of honest conflict over dishonest harmony. Again, how honest conflict has more social value than dishonest harmony. Again, how important that is to be aware that having honest conflict is better, has more social value than dishonest harmony. And we live, if you look at it, if we're aware of this in our daily interactions, and most of the time it's probably not going to be with a stranger. That can come up where you have to have honest conflict with a stranger.
Thanks for being with us.
But I definitely think this is the most valuable, especially with family and friends and partners and co-workers and bosses, like whoever you're around every day, and even strangers. If you see something on the street and you feel like you need to conflict because it goes against your values, you need to stand up for it. But in your circle that we deal with every day, 95% of our life, like being able to have honest conflict with our conversations with someone over just dishonest harmony
is crucial.
It's so much better, has so much more social value because it teaches us and forces us to practice expressing our true feelings and opinions without having to hate someone or attack someone. It also forces us to be able to respect someone else. It forces us to communicate. It forces us to listen. It forces us to engage. It's not just like this sugar outer layer where you never have conflict. And you can handle it in a way where it's still diplomatic. It doesn't have to get to the point like, fuck you, you're a piece of shit, and start personal attacking someone.
But it can get aggressive. That's why this is such a great topic, because ultimately people are afraid of that.
It doesn't need to get aggressive, though. It only should be aggressive when it's something really fucked up going wrong, where you're standing up. Maybe you're standing up for someone where you see racism. Maybe you see a disabled person getting picked on. Then yes, then in that case, aggressiveness to stand up for people is needed. That's where leadership comes in, to put someone in their place when they're being extremely disrespectful and they're attacking someone. Then you need to come in and do that. But really, it's about caring and wanting to move forward. And if we can't have that dialogue, it's just we're going to have this outer layer of BS. Just like perfect harmony. That's not real. Like nothing is perfect. And no one wants to have that. So what they do is they just kind of, yeah, sure, okay. It's kind of like the Minnesota nice thing.
Yeah, so basically, dishonest harmony to me over, what is it? What was the
honest conflict?
Honest conflict.
Especially with people that you're friends and family, no one wants to have.
To me, honest conflict, the value of honest conflict over dishonest harmony is just, to me, it is the conversation of why I do what I do at Weirman Media, and it is the conversation that I do. Everything I do essentially is correlated to this topic. Everything that I'm doing currently with my business and the businesses that we're launching, Weirman Media, More Love Nation, whatever it is, it's all about open, authentic, vulnerable dialogue. And to me, that is the direct correlation between honest conflict versus dishonest harmony. And I feel like everyone's always afraid to be the person that's an outlier or an outcast or says the things or challenges concepts or ideas or ideologies. And then they look at him like, oh, he's an asshole, or he's a douchebag, oh, fuck that guy. But the one that stands
up... Yeah, but you can do it without being those things.
Yeah, I know.
You don't have to be aggressive. You don't have to be an asshole and a douchebag. You can handle it and do it in a way where it's loving and caring, and also doing it because you want to have an honest conversation. If you're actually trying to figure out where that person's at, if you actually feel like you want to be a good friend. Like Joe Rogan did that with his buddy on his podcast.
Brendan Schaub.
He was like saying, bro, like, I'm not saying you're a bad human. I'm not saying you don't work hard.
He led with positives, too.
But he's saying, dude, you probably work hard. You probably are disciplined. You probably do all these things. But, dude, you're going to get your shit rocked. You keep getting your shit rocked in the ring because you're just these guys are just better than you at what they do, and I'm concerned that you could get really fucked up and hurt, and you're my friend. He basically said that to him, and his friend was crying. Brandon was crying in his podcast, but like
pretty powerful.
He didn't attack him. He didn't say he was weak. He didn't say you were lazy. He didn't say you're fucking wasting your life or your time. He's basically just saying out of his concern that he's afraid that if he keeps fighting these guys that are better than him, basically, but he have more skills.
But he did come with candid honesty though, which is priceless. So to me,
yeah, but you can't be. The thing what he did so well was if it's not super aggressive and it's not attacking them, it's more effective. If you start attacking someone in any way, not coming in, leading them with positives, and if you do that too aggressively, people will get defensive. I've seen this because I work in the field of chemical dependency. I have to have honest conflict every day to do my job.
100%.
When you're dealing with people and addicts and
Honest
alcoholics,
conflict.
Every day there's a conversation comes up. Well, I have to lead in with the honest conflict conversation. I have to tell them how they're behaving, what they're doing, these individuals. And I have to start off coming in calm, cool, collect, but I also have to lead in with giving them some props, but I also have to call them out and call them honesty, what I see and what behavior and what you're doing and how that affects yourself and others. And that's not easy to do. But in order to be effective, you have to do that, especially as a media company.
What's Charles saying?
Especially as a media company.
Yeah.
If you have to have honest conflict, but let's look at the bigger picture, why we think we're rooted in that. Why are humans innately right now in our society focusing on dishonest harmony versus...
It's everything that we talk about. They're addicted to comfort and friction-free living. They're addicted to the easy, softer way. As humans and as species, especially consumers, we're addicted to speed, and we're addicted to anything that lacks friction. And so by doing so, we don't want to take the harder path, or we don't want to naturally go and put ourselves in more challenging, difficult situations. So we're always going to choose the easier, softer route.
Yeah, I think that's key, but I actually really think it's rooted... I think it's rooted in more than that. I think it's really rooted...
That's exactly what it is, though.
I think it's rooted more than anything is just fear. Fear of having to have those like people don't want to do it because they're afraid. They're afraid.
But let's dive
they're
afraid of what? That's what
of being judged. Of being judged. Like they're afraid. People are afraid because they care so much about what people think of them. Right? They want people to like them so much that in order to have honest conflict over dishonest harmony, you have to remove your ego and not care what people think of you or if they attack you or whatever. You have to remove that. Like when I go into conversations with honest conflict every day, I'm not afraid of it. My ego is removed. It's not me trying to be authority power figure.
But that's exactly what I just said, though. That's you're saying what I
I'm
said.
just simplifying it, though, that people are...
That is simple.
That they're afraid, that they're thinking about how someone thinks about them and that they're going to get judged for being honest and calling their friend out.
But that makes it sound more complex to me. Like when I think about it, if I think about
I think what I'm saying is simpler. It's fear.
But if someone says, can I take the easier way or the softer way? That's how I see this conversation. That's easy. To me, as easy as it gets. Are you going to choose the easier, softer way or the better, more successful way? That's how I see it. That makes it as simple.
Yeah, but I think if it's rooted deeper than that, it's rooted in fear.
That's the deeper concept. Yep, that's
they're afraid of having any form of conflict. At all.
But the number one thing, I think it's more afraid that they're afraid to look at themselves and their imperfections. I don't think it's afraid of conflict. I don't think it's afraid. I think people are afraid of looking at their imperfections and how they feel inferior.
Yeah, because they don't even
They don't want to feel inferior.
They don't even know their imperfections because they're not auditing their imperfections. So when someone says something about the imperfections, they start to get hurt. Their ego.
Let's face it. The most intimidating aspect of anything is intelligence. So everyone takes things as an ego and dick measuring contest and a competition. So the second you start having dialogue on something, if someone says something that might articulate something better than you or stand out more than you, they think they're inferior and they think they're less than.
Yeah, I don't even think it's them because I'm not trying.
Totally.
It's not about intelligence.
100%.
It's not about intelligence though. If I'm just going to my friend and saying, "Hey, bro,"
that is what it's about.
Yeah, but listen, it's not like if I'm Joe.
I'm trying to have conversations with people on a regular basis. And
I'm not talking about that though. I'm talking about like what Joe.
Exactly what we're talking about.
I understand, but like what I'm saying is what Joe Rogan did, and you could see his friend crying on the podcast. That has little to do with. He's not like Joe Rogan was implementing his intelligence over his friend.
He 100% was.
He was just seeing how his actions, his perspective.
What was his
But you don't want to make the person feel like you're smarter than them by that.
But that's what the issue is, though, with these. Otherwise, you'd have more dialogue. So that's my point. So then lean into what you're saying. How come people aren't having more open dialogue conversations then?
Because they're afraid of...
With people that are smarter than them or more successful.
Because they're afraid of being judged.
And how come they're not listening?
They're afraid of being judged, and they don't want anyone to have a microscope on them because they're unwilling to look at themselves.
I personally think it's all ego. I disagree. I think everyone doesn't want to look like
fear
this.
is ego, bro. What do you mean? That's what I just
think
said.
everyone
Fear of
wants
being
to-
judged is ego. How do you not ego?
I
Ego
think-
is fear.
I think everyone just wants to be the
But
smartest.
you're trying to say ego's not fear. It's the same fucking thing.
I don't think so.
Fear is rooted in ego. Yeah, it is.
Okay, well, I don't know. That's beyond my pay scale then. I don't
No, it's
see-
not. It's simple.
I don't see fear as ego. Ego
It
is
is.
fear.
It is ego. 100% ego.
Good morning, Ty.
How is fear not
Morning,
ego?
Ty Smith. Let's go, Taisha. We'd love to get you on the court. 2-on-2, Ty. I'll still smoke you. But how is fear ego? I just don't see it. I just personally don't
It
see
is.
it. I think ego
It
is
is
just all about
100%
being better than people. And
No, that's a form of
elitism.
ego. Ego is anything where you think you're better than or less than. Someone who's extremely insecure about themselves, that's fearful, that's ego.
Okay, but let's get back to the point.
That's my point. That's
So-
fear.
So what? People that are dishonest harmony over honest conflict.
Fear driven.
I think it's ego driven.
It's the same thing, is what I'm saying. It's the same thing.
I think everyone. But if anyone would like, every time I try and talk to someone at the hostel,
Ego is fear.
no one's listening. That's the number one thing I noticed from listening to Gary Vee and having a sculptor. I've had several mentors. I've had Tom Allis, Kim Duffett, Gary Vaynerchuk now, my brother next to me, Isaiah. I've had my dad. I've had many people give me input and guidance and direction. And ultimately, I listen. Most people, 99.9% of especially Americans, I speak to consumers because that's the majority of our audience, so that's why I speak to you guys, is the consumer. I'm speaking to the consumers. I know who I'm targeting and I know who I'm speaking to. And that's generally who I'm targeting and speaking to is the consumer. And I think the majority of the consumers are never listening. Like when I have a conversation with someone at the hostel about some topic or ideology or scientific thing, they don't even listen. They won't even hear me. They have the answer already. They won't even take a second to listen and see what I'm saying. They're just like, I know. They won't. When I bring up an idea or a concept, they won't even listen. They're not even listening to me. So why doesn't someone listen?
Well, that's a little different. I don't know.
No, I think that's the same thing. Why won't someone listen?
Well, that's
to someone?
not dishonest harmony if they're not listening. That's just like, there's no harmony there if you guys are not even having a conversation about anything. I guess you could say that's dishonest harmony if you're just avoiding all of it.
By not listening and not hearing.
It's rooted in because that forces them to have it comes back to the inventory that we talk about in auditing.
Exactly. So the growth steps that we were.
Well, I was
media.
talking there. So
So lead into the
so
growth steps.
I
then.
think
Those are
that
the key points.
I think that goes into if an individual, if I don't practice some form of inventory in my life, I will not begin to magically start doing that in a conversation with someone like my brother. It won't happen. So if someone's coming into this situation with just like a very open mind and trying to create a dialogue and not trying to be right or wrong, just trying to have a conversation and maybe get to understand where you're coming from. It might be some conflict there, but you're practicing
Thanks, Ty.
honesty. But that person's never going to get in that conversation, like you said, or like I said, fear, or you call it ego, which to me is the same. Combining that with not doing their own inventory, you're never going to get that person to listen, to change, to have an open mind. Because in order to do those
Step
things,
one, audit and
it
awareness.
starts with an inventory. If I don't do that with my life, I am completely unaware or incapable of having an open mind because I'm not even open-minded to myself. That's the root problem.
Yeah, folks.
And then combine that with ego and fear.
The growth steps.
You're not going to have to be able to have an honest conflict.
So-
Secondly, how can I have an honest conflict if I don't even know who the fuck I am?
So that's why
I don't even know what I believe.
That's why the first step
Right?
is auditing and awareness. The second step is humility and open-mindedness, and the final step is being of service, bringing value to others freely,
Just turn the mic down.
and sharing value with others at scale. So that's why the growth steps are so essential. At We Were in Media, that's the same concept for whether you're growing or scaling anything. You can use them in your life or you can use them in your business. If you want to scale or grow anything, your biggest enemy is complexities and personalities and ego. Ego, complexities, and personalities kill growth, as well as fear, as my brother said. So if there's fear present, if there's complexities present, if there's personalities present, that kills growth, and your ability to communicate and cooperate is going to decline. So if we want to communicate, cooperate, and scale something and grow, we have to remove ego, personalities, ego, and fear. And then that way we can move forward as a team and work together in a
My
cooperative,
mic's loud, sorry.
cooperative, flexible fashion uniting and growing and scaling and succeeding at whatever we do in a scale insurgent type of way. So that's essentially what we're talking about. But most of the problem is people won't even listen. So how can you have a dialogue or a conversation that's honest in any? It doesn't even matter if it's honest if no one will listen.
You can't. You can't. But again, that person perceives dishonest harmony as a better social value than honest conflict. Again, so that's a philosophy or an ideology. Is now that we have addressed it, is getting people to understand that and believe that having honest conflict has better social value.
Again, man, you have it frame all fucked up for the show.
No, I didn't.
Hey, I wasn't in the frame.
I just moved it just now.
My head's been out of it the whole time.
No, it's not.
My head's not in it.
Yeah, you are. Anyways, so is this the audio?
Looks terrible. No, it isn't. The mic's fine.
Is this the audio volume?
No, it's right here.
Okay, well, I had some content here. People saying my volume's really loud on my mic.
Where did they say that?
Someone messaged me. But anyway, so I was just letting you know so that people were saying my microphone is specifically louder than yours when I'm talking. So
the mics have been the same for every show.
So people have to believe that. If you believe dishonest harmony has better value than
Happy Friday, Jimmy.
If you believe dishonest harmony has better value than honest conflict, you're never going to change.
Yep.
Facts.
Yep. That's why everything I talk about comes back to pain and suffering. That's why everything I talk about comes back to freedom to fail, freedom to make mistakes, freedom to cut your knee, bruise your toe, whatever it is, chip your tooth, because that's where you then have the pain and suffering and motive to start to change, and maybe you will listen. Because ultimately, consumers in America aren't going to start to change. You're not going to see the change or the growth unless they start to think, oh, they might need it, and that comes from pain and suffering.
Yeah.
So for me, I think it's a really interesting topic because I love dialogue. I love dialogue. Like if someone
I didn't know that.
If someone can come in here and share something that forces me to think about something in a new way, I would love that. Love it.
I think sometimes though, dude, you personally come off as really aggressive sometimes. And I think you have to be aware that your aggressiveness can be something that you have to be aware of in your conversations.
100%, but I've grown out 28 years to realize that, and that's me. I'm not going to lean away.
You don't have to, but I'm telling you right now, if you come in a little softer like I do, it is more effective most of the time.
But I'm
not telling you to change. I'm just taking.
What you are telling me to do. I'm aware of
taking
myself.
you honest.
This is who I am.
I'm practicing honest conflict and inventory right now.
Yeah, this is who I am.
That's fine, but you have to be aware. Most people, that's going to intimidate them tremendously.
And you also have to be aware that it's worked for me in 9 different states. I've sculpted statues. I've had major success because of it.
I'm just saying sometimes toning down your aggressiveness can have value.
My aggressiveness is the only thing that's gotten me success. Without my aggressiveness, I would not be where I am.
Well, look at Joe Rogan when he sometimes.
Joe Rogan is one of the more aggressive people you'll ever meet.
But most of his podcasts now, he's pretty chill. He's not super aggressive.
He's incredibly aggressive. Joe Rogan is He's a lot like me in that regard. I'm a lot like Joe in that regard.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's wrong or bad. I'm just giving you from my experience personally. People told me that I'm intense and aggressive.
Okay.
So I'm not even just speaking because of you. I'm talking about me.
Yeah,
I'm your brother.
I'm aware of what you're saying. I love it. I lean into it.
That's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying, for me, I have found in my personal experience, I'm more effective if I just tone down my intensity slightly and aggressiveness.
Energy.
I have more effectiveness if I am.
Disagree.
If I am doing honest conflict, if I'm pragmatically doing that with people, I find, because the average individual, let's be real, they're not intense, they're chill. The average person just doesn't have energy.
Right there. They're stagnant and stuck, and they're not energetic, they're not passionate, they're not lit on fire.
I know, but what I'm saying is I'm able to reach that person if I'm trying to get someone to move a little bit out of that dishonest harmony.
I'm not going to that's ego, though. I'm not going to sit and think about how I can impact, I'm not going to sit here and analyze my personal self and how I'm going to be God and motivate that person.
It's not God, it's just about recognizing, I've done an honest inventory.
But I'm not God, I'm not there to change that person's life.
Neither am I. You're not listening to what I'm saying. You cut me off. What I'm saying is, from my experience, I have found I am more effective when approaching situations that have honest conflict if I'm not as aggressive. That is all I'm saying from my life, from my personal experience. I'm not saying everyone else should.
Totally.
We're talking about situations with honest conflict. It's all.
How many statues have you sculpted?
That has nothing to do with anything, bro. What are you talking about? How many statues have I sculpted?
Because aggressiveness correlates with taking risks. and assertiveness.
Dude, I'm not saying you shouldn't be aggressive in life. I'm saying when it comes to specific situations when you're doing honest conflict. Of course, being aggressive
Everything in life is a conflict.
in the gym. I'm talking about when we just meet someone stranger and we're trying to have
conditioning and fitness is conflict. Everything, if you look at it in the scientific lens, is conflict.
Yeah, I do agree that stuff's good, bro. I'm just saying when I know I'm going into a situation where I'm about to have honest conflict, I have found I am more effective in those situations when I'm not being aggressive at that person as much. If I can tone my intensity down slightly.
But the word you're using is different than it's energy, right? Energy is the most underrated asset. Period.
You can have energy and not be aggressive at the same time.
But energy is a very powerful tool.
Of course.
And passion, energy.
But you can do that stuff and not be aggressive, bro, at the same time.
Energy, passion, excitement, and intensity is one of the most attractive qualities anyone can have. It's nothing more exciting and energetic than someone that's passionate, happy, excited, intense, educated, and lit on life and healthy. What's more attractive than someone that's intelligent, handsome, excited, doing something they love, and excited for life and excited for others and wants to bring that to them? What about that should someone tone down? If I'm happy, I'm in such a great space that however long, after taking all these risks and doing a bunch of things in my life, and then you're happy, healthy, you're sober, you're doing what you love, and you're completely content, and you want to share that with others. Why should someone tone that down?
They shouldn't.
Okay.
I never said you should.
I'm just curious.
I'm saying
because to me that's the most valuable tool is the energy and the excitement and the passion.
Yeah, but I'm saying if I'm trying
the ambition and the desire.
Yeah, those are great traits. I'm never telling anyone to stop doing that. What are you saying?
You just said tone down.
I'm saying if I'm going into a specific. I'm saying if I'm going into a specific.
You can't answer the question and then let me answer it. You said tone down my.
No, your aggressiveness.
That's energy.
No, it's not.
That's what I answered.
I can have energy and not be aggressive.
This is what I'm answering your question. Toning down my aggressiveness would be me toning down my energy and my passion and my excitement.
You don't have to do that though. There's a way where you can.
That's what it would be doing.
That's you saying that's how the only way you know how to do it.
I'm telling you, I'm aware of myself.
I can turn down my aggressiveness and still be energy and passionate.
All my aggressiveness is excitement, passion, energy, and so forth. That's an accumulation of everything I just said. So to me, how do you turn down? Why would I turn that knob down?
I'm not saying you should.
I'm asking you though, because you asked.
I just told you I'm speaking from my experience.
Yeah.
I find I'm more effective going into situations specifically. I'm not talking about talking on a podcast with you. If I'm physically going to talk to someone in front of me when I know there's going to be honest conflict, and I know the average individual doesn't like that, and the average individual prefers dishonest harmony. I know that. I've experienced it. I do this every day. I know when I go into that situation, most of the time, it's a case-by-case basis. If I was doing it with you, I know you. I know I don't have to do that.
I think that's the opposite of what you should be doing.
I'm saying, I just know from my experience, I have more effective experiences with those individuals when I come in not as aggressive.
Okay, now I'm
But it's a case-by-case basis.
I'm going to interject and say that's the complete
but
opposite.
Listen, but you're not listening, though. It's not universal. It's not universal. I'm not saying everyone... It's just recognizing that person, and my goal is trying to be able to get them to have an honest conversation. And sometimes, in order to maneuver through that, I have to tone it down. Someone like you, I wouldn't have to do that. Someone like you, I could come in straight aggressive because I know that's fine.
That's the complete opposite. So here's my point of why I think that's the complete opposite. So based on the topic today of the topic we have, which is dishonest harmony over honest conflict. If I realize that concept, if I look at just the concept, not individuals and personalities, because you're talking about personalities, is what you're talking about. You're talking about personalities and individuals, correct? Case-by-case subjectiveness. That's not objectiveness, that's subjectiveness. So you're talking about personalities over principles, correct?
I'm talking about how...
Personalities over principles.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are. You just said You said case-by-case basis.
How aggressive I am.
Subjectiveness to the individual on the other end, correct?
On how aggressive I am.
Correct?
No.
That's what you just said. Answer my question, please. You just said case-by-case basis.
On how aggressive I should be in a situation.
That's personal and subjective to the individual.
Yeah.
Yes, so that's personalities over principles.
No, I'm not practicing.
Because the idea that we have on topic...
No, that is principles over personalities.
Today's topic is a principle.
And I still follow that principle.
But you're taking personalities into it.
Everyone's different, bro.
But I thought it's principles over personalities.
It is.
Okay, so then
I'm not. I'm still practicing my principle.
This is my point of articulation.
This is your perception of how you're viewing the statement.
How I'm articulating the conversation.
Yep.
So based on what you said, now this is my response to everything that you brought up. Okay, but if it's not about personalities, it's more about principles and concepts and ideologies and facts. Because based on the fact, we both agree that there should be more honest conflict over dishonest harmony.
Correct.
Because people are not comfortable hearing what they don't want to hear or hearing something.
Yep.
So, based on that principle, I would not pay attention to personalities. I would be more direct and forward in communicating the principle.
Yeah, and I do that.
Yeah, without concerning myself with the personalities.
I can still concern myself in front of me. There's an individual in front of me. I can still concern myself that they're a human and that how I feel my goal is to be diplomatic and get my honest conflict across to them in the simplest ways possible, and I find I am more effective when I do that. That's all.
Got it.
I'm still practicing.
So you're concerned about diplomacy now. You want to be diplomatic with everything you do.
I am a diplomatic individual, yes.
Mm-hmm. Got it. So you want to be diplomatic.
I feel like you can have honest conflict. That's how you have honest conflict without being extreme and talking shit and getting angry at people. That is someone who's effective at doing that. That's the reason why honest conflict escalates to people screaming at each other.
You should be able to do everything. You can have your voice. I think as long as there's no physical threshold, as long as you never cross, even sometimes physical threshold's needed. The other day you were on the phone, we had a conversation, you were thinking about maybe like, you look at the brothers that did that fight. Who's the guy that did...
Jake Paul?
Jake Paul. They're super cool. Sometimes physical aggression is necessary. Look at the video we watched this morning with Joe Rogan. He had to protect himself. He didn't assault anyone. He wasn't going out of his way to attack them. He stood up for what was right.
Yeah, he handled that thing diplomatically.
And he put the guy in a head choke.
That was diplomatic, the way he handled that.
Okay, so that's exactly right. You can be physically aggressive and still be diplomatic.
Joel was not physically aggressive at all in that situation.
He put the guy in a chokehold.
He was not physically aggressive. The other guy was physically aggressive at him, and he diffused the situation diplomatically.
He had physical contact. He was aggressive.
I'm not saying there shouldn't be physical contact. No, Joe Rogan was not the aggressor in that situation at all.
But he physically choked a guy. That's aggressive. That's aggressive.
He was not being aggressive.
Dude, you're dancing around what I'm saying.
No, I'm not.
I'm talking about aggression.
He was not attacking anybody. Aggression is attacking.
He had to assert his aggression on the man.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. The guy attacked him.
He didn't assert any aggression. He diffused it through defense.
He had to assert himself to protect himself.
He was being assertive, yes. He was not being aggressive.
Fashion.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, how was choking someone's neck not aggressive?
He wasn't choking his neck.
Yeah, he did.
He just grabbed his head and put it down.
And then he chokes him.
He was diffusing the situation.
Yes, he proceeds to choke him.
That's assertiveness, not aggressiveness.
That's exactly my point. Thanks for making that. So, that's right.
There's a difference.
There's a difference between assertiveness and aggressiveness.
Correct.
Exactly. That's exactly
my point.
That's my point about what I just said.
That's how I believe. That's why when I'm doing those situations, I'm assertive but not aggressive.
No, you're taking principles before personalities.
Yeah, I am taking principles before personalities.
I mean, personalities before principles.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are. You're putting the individual's personality before the principle.
No, I'm not.
That's what you just said.
No, I'm not.
You just articulated that.
No, I'm not.
Oh. Yeah, you did.
No, I'm not.
You just said you subjectively take the personality into perspective before you go into the situation over the principle. You said, I go into the situation assertively, thinking about the individual's subjectiveness and individuality, and then I think about that, and then I bring in the principle.
Sometimes going into a situation... No, my
personalities.
No, I'm going principles first. But sometimes when you go into a situation, you can't be super aggressive with people, Josh. It's not effective. Facts.
I've been doing it.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not a fact.
You can't be aggressive with everybody, dude. It won't work.
That's not a fact.
They'll run away, and you won't be able to have that honest conversation.
That's not a fact.
Yes, it is.
That's not a fact.
So you think you can be aggressive with everybody, and that's going to get you the results that you need?
I think you can be principle over personality. Yep.
But the whole point of all I'm saying is I think sometimes being aggressive is not the result.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about being principled over personalities. I'm talking about, so once again, I'm taking the personalities out of it.
The principle is practicing honesty and conflict, bro.
Personalities out of it. This is more principles versus personalities.
But if you're taking personalities out, that means you're just going to be aggressive every time, no matter what's in front of you.
I'm going to be principled.
You could still be principled, bro, and just approach something differently. It's called flexibility. It's called assertiveness.
Let's move forward, but I obviously don't agree with you. I think principles are more important than personality.
I do too. Totally. I live that life, my lifestyle.
Well, based on what you just said, it's contradictory. But
no, it's not.
100%.
No, it's not, bro.
Well, let's lean into it.
Why don't you ask 100 people about me if I practice principles over personality?
You just said word for word, I subjectively look at every individual I interact with and modify how
It's not what I'm saying.
And modify
It's not what I'm saying.
It's not exactly what you just said.
No, I said most people, that's fine. the way you're talking, but sometimes you can't handle it that way, bro.
But that's what I'm saying, though. That makes no sense.
It does.
No, it doesn't. Because if I believe in a principle and it changes people and it helps them, I'm gonna stay.
Just like right now, like the way you are now.
Stay in that.
If you can't come to certain people a little bit more chill, sometimes it's not effective. I've done this 100 times. I've worked in the field of chemical dependency 100 times.
You're not talking
people
about,
get defensive.
I'm not sitting in a freaking chemical dependency room, dude. You can't. You're taking. So once again,
that's honest conflict. We're talking about honest conflict.
This is a great.
That's
point.
how I practice that every day. It's contextualized.
This is a great point. Contextual, right? Because what he's talking about is completely irrelevant to the conversation.
No, it's not.
Yet you're not contextualizing. You're comparing this conversation or our conversation you just audited the conversation we're having and contextually compared it to a completely irrelevant contextual concept.
But the concept that I was telling
you can't compare this to a deep drug assessment counselor's meeting.
I'm not saying a drug assessment.
You just did that.
I told you when we started this conversation. I told you. Yeah, but every day I told you that I work in chemical dependency, and that's how you have to approach it.
Well, you just made a comment prior. And I'm answering.
Okay.
You compared this conversation just now that we're having to a one in a DAT room or whatever in a drug situation. That is two completely different things, and there's no contextual relevance.
There is contextual relevance.
No, there isn't.
Yes, there is.
No, there is not.
Yes, there is.
Zero.
I'm saying this type of dialogue does not work with 90%
that'd be like
people.
Me comparing a podcast to a fucking doctor's appointment. Completely irrelevant.
I'm not talking about a doctor's appointment.
I just don't think you realize.
You're talking about honest. You're talking about conversations at a hostel. That's what I'm talking about. Interactions I have every day.
I don't think you realize how uncontextualized.
So what about you brought up the hostel? Is that contextualized in this conversation?
100%.
Why?
Because everything at the hostel's mission statement is about communing with others. The mission statement of communing.
That's the same concept when I'm talking about living at a sober house.
Let me answer your question.
I live at a sober house. It's the same fucking principle.
You just asked a question.
Yeah, go.
No, I mean. You can just say what you want to say. You asked a question.
It's funny, you bring up examples of the hostel, but if I start talking about my example, mine directly correlates. I live in a sober community full of people.
You just did two different things. You were talking about a sober house. Then you compared this to. You weren't comparing it to the sober house.
That's what I'm talking about. It's chemical dependency. That's what I'm talking about. It's the same thing.
You compared it to an assessment at the treatment
I didn't
center.
never say anything about assessment. I'm talking about working in chemical dependency. That's what I do every day. I'm a chemical dependency. I work in the field of addiction.
But I was comparing that to the drug assessment meeting.
I'm not talking about a drug assessment meeting.
Never mind. Just forget what I said. But you can't take things out of contextual. You have to contextually realize, folks, that it's contextualizing and speaking directly to your audience that matters, right? So it's not about the individual. It's not about the personalities. It's about the principles, the concepts, and the ideologies that make sense, qualitative and quantitative wise. And you're using that to share that with others and bring them value. And whether or not they take that in a negative or positive connotation or a lens, that's not my job to process or handle that. My job as an individual is based on my experiences and insights and perspectives that I can bring forward to others, realizing that I've been through a few different things, that I can do that at scale and volume and bring value freely to others in the best way or fashion that I can. And for me, that's leaning into my authentic, true self in a vulnerable fashion. And that's exactly what I do. And when I do that, I've had massive success. I've sculpted bronze statues. I've started moving companies. I've lived out of the back of a moving truck to make money. I've lived on the streets of Honolulu, and I've had massive success. So I would never look at personalities before principles. I would always put principles before personalities, and I would stick to principles, concepts, and ideologies over looking at individuals and how their feelings got bruised or hurt a little bit. Because it's about communing with others. No matter your sex, your religion, your education, or background, it's about how I can connect and commune with others. And in order to do so, you have to have these conversations. You can't have dishonest harmony all the time and just be passive aggressive and not ever have conversations. So you have to have dialogue that is honest and candid.
I agree.
So that's my opinion and perspective on
this I practice principles over personalities every day. I practice honest conflict every day. I work at a sober living facility.
That's a great example.
I work in chemical dependency. That's the examples I was using. The same example he's talking about living in a hostel in a community. I live in another community. It's focused on chemical dependency. And like I said before, I work every day in honest conflict. And when you're approaching honest conflict, all I'm saying from my experience, sometimes coming in less aggressive for certain people helps. Doesn't mean I'm trying to be passive aggressive. It doesn't mean I'm not practicing honest conflict. It just means that sometimes I've realized I've had more success in that honest conflict with their approach that's not as aggressive. It's still assertive. It's just not as aggressive.
Yeah,
so you don't have to do that though.
So let's steer down that lane.
But listen, I'm talking right now. You just went on a rant for 3 minutes. Let me say something.
Let's steer down that lane.
We can, but give me a second here. I'm not telling everyone they should do what I do. First of all, I'm not telling my brother he should change who he is. You should always be who you are. I know for me, I'm naturally diplomatic, so I'm able to effectively do that. If you're naturally just always aggressive and energetic,
I don't like that's negative.
And you feel if you feel like that works for you, that's fine. I can only speak from my experience. You're sharing your experience, what works for you. That's fine. No one's better or no one's less.
I'm just using negative language.
What negative language?
When you say the way that you just spoke about that about me, that's a negative connotation. You're not coming at it with like a positive connotation. You're not saying you're not saying like you're aggressively kind. You're saying you're coming off like I'm just an aggressive and a negative.
I didn't say anything negative there. I'm stating that you come off as aggressiveness. That's a fact.
Yeah, negative, like aggressive.
How is? I never said it was negative. It's bad. I never said it was bad or physical.
It sounds like someone's physical.
It's not what I said at all.
Well, the way that you said it sounds like that.
How did the way that I said it? By what? By using the word aggressive?
Dude, because the way you say it, yes, because who I am. If you tell me...
Dude, you are an aggressive individual. You can't deny that.
Those are two different... But when you say that, I'm just telling you that's how it sounds. It doesn't have a positive language.
Did I use the word negative about it at all? Did I say I was ready? But then you didn't even listen. Right before I said that, I said the way I do something isn't better than anyone else.
Yes.
That's exactly what I said. So
yes. I'm just telling you.
If you're saying because I said...
If you tell someone they're an aggressive individual, that's in a negative connotation.
You're taking it that way.
I'm telling you, that's what...
You honestly can't take an inventory if someone's telling you you're aggressive and you think
I have no issues hearing it. I'm telling you how I'm hearing it.
But did I ever say it was bad or negative? I didn't, though.
I am telling you, in general, people will. That's what you're...
That's their on them. It's not on me because you...
That's what I'm getting at. You just made my point. That's on them, not me.
Of course.
You just said my point. That's exactly my point. That's exactly what I'm getting at. That's why I just articulated that. That's exactly... You just said it.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not saying that, denying that.
So what you just said, how I heard it, you can't control it. That's on them.
I never can control what's on them.
Exactly.
At all.
Exactly.
I know. I'm not trying to deny that. I'm saying again,
so
one more time.
I
feel from my experience, I'm more effective when I don't come in as aggressive. Doesn't mean I'm better than you. Doesn't mean my way's better. I find that way. And I'm naturally a more diplomatic person. Again, I'm inventorying who I am. I'm
arguably one of the more diplomatic people you'll ever meet.
Okay, I'm just saying my experience, who I am, and that's how I practice my diplomacy. Other people don't do it that way. And I'm not saying everyone's different, dude. Everyone handles things differently. You have your own personality and your own way. And I'm not saying that you're not any of those things, bro. And you're not. I'm just telling you who I am. You're taking me describing who I am like it's against you.
No, I'm not. I'm not saying that at all.
I said,
I have one of the most diverse backgrounds and diplomatic backgrounds of anyone you'll ever meet.
Cool. I never said that's not true.
I know you did. I'm just making a clear statement.
Okay, that's your opinion again. So
well, actually, I can actually audit it and bring it all.
Okay, but I'm spinning my opinion about myself. Nothing I'm saying is facts. What I'm saying here either.
My point again is I just want to lean into what.
But my point was all I said was you're aggressive and you're acting like I'm attacking you.
That's a negative.
And I'm negative.
No, I'm not, dude. I'm giving you a general point of view.
So it's negative that I call you aggressive.
If you went out and called someone aggressive, that's negative. That's negative language. 100%. You're not saying you're positive. You're going at someone like they're negative aggressive, like they're out to hurt someone. It is not positive.
Aggressiveness does not mean
that you walk up to a stranger and said you're aggressive.
If someone's being aggressive, I'm going to say you're being aggressive.
Aggressive is a negative word. Do you see what I'm saying?
You're saying it's negative. I'm not saying aggressive's negative.
The majority of people, if you call them aggressive, that's not like you're like giving them a compliment.
But you are aggressive, bro. I'm practicing honesty and confidence. Do you want me to practice dishonest harmony and deny the fact that you're not aggressive?
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay.
I'm just saying. So you see what I'm saying, though.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, but again, that's where honest conflict happens. Like when I practice this at a sober living, if they get
you made my whole point.
But that's also, it's not saying that you're wrong, that you're right and I'm wrong. It's not at all.
You just made the point. You just said when you said something, you can't control how the people interpret.
Of course, I'm not trying to ever say I'm.
But that's exactly the opposite of what you said momentarily.
I know, I did not say that. No, I didn't. I am not going to control them.
You said you diplomatically, subjectively, on an individual level, go into case-by-case basis, concerned with insulting people or hurting their feelings.
No, it's not what I said. I never said that. Check the tape. I never said I was concerned about hurting their feelings. I never said I was concerned about hurting their feelings. What?
So then what's the worry? So then let's audit it. What's the worry then when you go into a conversation with
There is no worry.
Yeah, so let me...
There's a goal.
What is the concern or the
goal?
Or the worry of being candid and honest?
No concern, no worry. There's a goal I'm trying to reach. A goal. Goal.
You're dancing around it.
I'm not dancing around anything.
You are a ballerina.
No, I'm not. I have a goal. Correct. If I'm going in a situation to have honest conflict, I have a goal. Isn't there a goal when you're trying to have honest conflict? What is your goal when you're having honest conflict?
I'm just having dialogue openly.
Okay, but let's look at the contextual situation that I'm talking about. If I'm at a sober living and I'm practicing honest conflict every day, what do you think my goal is?
My goal is just open dialogue.
I understand that. But sometimes when you're trying to have honest conflict, there's a goal. Like, what do you think Joe Rogan's goal was with his friend? What do you think?
Thanks, Tommy.
What do you think his goal was when he was telling his friend that on camera on his podcast?
To help him grow.
Boom.
So giving him the stuff he doesn't want to hear and have, whether it hurts his feelings or not, no matter how he interprets it, helping him grow.
Exactly.
Which
So
it
that's
doesn't
my
matter
same
how
goal.
the people interpret it. It's
Nope.
a matter of just how it helps them.
Exactly. So when I'm going into
personalities are irrelevant.
Yeah, so when I'm going into this
I don't give a fuck about the personalities.
So when I'm going into a situation,
I give absolutely zero fucks about personalities.
if I'm going into a situation, if there's a person in front of me that I'm trying to help, and my goal is to get them to see how their behavior, to see how maybe they're stuck, to see how their behavior affects others.
Great energy, Tommy. Thanks, brother.
So when I'm going into it, that's my goal. If that's my goal, I need them to become aware of that. That's all I want them is to be aware of that. Hopefully they can be honest with themselves. But if they totally react in a way where they feel like their feelings are hurt, I don't give a fuck either.
Yeah, I'm powerless over that. I don't get caught up.
I agree. Me too.
I don't get caught up. The reason I am principled over personality and I'm not so much subjective about hurting people's feelings or so forth.
I never said I care about hurting someone's feelings. That's not what I'm saying.
I'm talking about me because
you put words in my mouth, though.
I'm not one that thinks I'm in control of other people's lives or their decisions or how they interpret things.
Me neither.
I simply am, as an individual, focused on being authentic and true to myself and what I believe in and what I'm about in my platform and my principles behind my platform. Nothing about what I do is my concern with personalities and individuals. That is their job to find self-awareness. Individuality is a critical part of unity because it's the first step in unity. It's self-awareness. But guess what? That's not my job to help other people. Have to find that themselves. So
you could help them find that, bro. Isn't that what you're trying to do with the honest conflict? Is get them to see a new picture?
At scale, yes, that's up here. Scale's up here. Individual is an individual down here. That's two different things. I'm at scale. So the individual's got to do the micro work. I'm doing the macro work.
Yeah.
So the macro work is to get the voice out there, and the micro work is for them to do the work on the bottom. That's not my job. My job is to be the voice at the top in the funnel. That's exactly what I'm trying to do, is to be the voice at the top, macro, so they get the message or they might hear it, and then they can take the growth steps and take audit, awareness, open.
They don't even know the growth steps.
Yeah, they do. I share them all the time. The growth steps that we're in media, step one is audit and awareness.
I'm saying, what if you're talking to someone face to face that has no idea what the growth steps are? You have to educate them in that process.
I share that scale every day.
I'm not talking about scale. I'm talking about what if you meet some dude on the street that has never seen us live on TV, and you're having an honest conflict with them.
I'm not going to have a conversation with a stranger on the street.
You have conversations with stranger at the hostel that you don't even know every day.
This is a great example of exactly what I believe in. So
how do you do that?
Based on the interaction where I'm with them. So like if it's just in passing in public, I'm not going to have a conversation.
I know, but I'm talking about you.
In order to have an intimate, deep conversation, usually it correlates directly with how much time I spend with someone or the intimate space I share with them.
Yep.
So the intimate space you share with someone is. I recommend reading The Art of Happiness by the Dalai Lama. This talks about our ability to connect to strangers on an intimate level at a snap of a finger. It's why he's the Dalai Lama. He connects to individuals on an emotional, pain and suffering level, intense, intimate level on a consistent daily basis. And I have been able to do so myself, traveling the world as a homeless bachelor that ended up sculpting statues and living out of a Subaru and having a lot of amazing fun. I can connect to anyone. But I'm not just going to have these deep, complex, crazy conversations with just like a guy that I walk by on the way back to the house on a walk. Because we don't know each other. We have no platform to go from. So for me, maybe if I'm staying with someone at the hostels, right? So now it's a community environment. Now I have a chance and a platform where I can maybe start to interject sometimes. And I've done it several times. Then I'll walk away because people just don't want to hear it. And I'm like, okay, I understand, and I let it go. But I still will be that voice. And I'm still comfortable being that voice and being that guy because I'm cool. I know who I am and what I'm about. So, but I don't just do it with like a stranger at the bus stop.
No, but I'm saying like if you have someone in the hostel that's never seen our show, that knows nothing about the dialogue of honest conflict and knows nothing about the growth steps.
I would never get. I would a completely different situation. You'd be at it like if I don't know you, you're not my brother.
But what if you start talking to someone and you have a conversation begins about honest conflict? He doesn't even know that's what's happening. How do you then bring that in? How do you push that conversation forward to teach them and educate them and make them aware of themselves?
I'm not focused on that, right? That's just it. That's principles over personalities, right? I'm focused at the top of the funnel.
Yeah.
So I'm not focusing on the individuals. I'm not. That's just not my concern. I'm not God. I can't go to every individual and change their life. That's not possible.
No, but like, don't you want to educate them?
At the top of the funnel, I can reach people with the
Of course you're not God.
With the principle. So I never even think about the personalities. I have zero think about
So
personalities.
you don't care about the person at all.
Unless you're someone that like you or Dell.
So you don't care about the person at all.
So people, yes, I'm giving you an example. Bob Monahan, people that are in my life on a daily basis regularly. Isaac Weirman, my brother, Bob Monahan, Del Bacon, Mike Geis. These people I'm seeing daily. Those are the people I care the most about. The people I spend the most time with and have the most interactions with. Yes, I 100% care about their opinions and perspectives and personalities, and from your lens, I would consider that in that situation. But with other people, no, zero. I don't have any, zero, because I don't know them. I don't have any connection to them. I spend zero time with them, so I don't have any. I'm just going to focus on the principles at the top of the very top at scale, because that's going to reach people in Hong Kong, in China, in Thailand, in Brazil, like we are doing, and I have people watching from all over the world. So I don't think about personalities.
Okay.
No.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's just me. But I just think it's a great topic because open dialogue and candid conversation. I think candor is an interesting topic because I think I'm good with candor. But
what's candor?
Candor is just the ability to be candid, just be direct, straight up, honest, direct. I don't know the word. What is the word for word definition?
I like to use the word assertiveness. Assertive.
I think it's pretty much the same thing, but let's check out candid versus candid, truthful and straightforward, frank. Candid conversation. Gary Vee says his number one most valuable asset is his ability to be candor. I've heard him say it. He'll say it again. I can pull up the video. He's one of the most successful people in the world. One of the smartest people in the world. Says the number one most valuable asset he has is his ability to be candor.
That is a great asset.
Truthful and straightforward and frank.
That's good. Yeah, Gary Vee is really good at being that. And I think that's assertiveness to me. That's what that is. Just like getting to the point.
Yeah, so assertive
without having to be...
Same thing, Zaya. Having or showing a confident and forceful personality. So those are pretty much, I would say, very similar.
Yeah.
Assertiveness and candor. Having or showing a confident and forceful personality is assertive, and candor is...
But I think at the end of the day, it's
truthful.
Summing all this stuff is just not shying away from honest conflict and just like avoiding it. Because most people just avoid it completely. They have nothing to do with it. They never really have any conflict in their life. Their goal is to avoid conflict. Their goal is to like try to live in perfect harmony where they're always comfortable, like you said, where there's no friction and there's no growth. And that's just the bad mindset. Like you have to have some friction in this honest conflict, and you don't have to hate someone. You don't have to attack them and call them a piece of shit and think they're a bad person, that they're better, that you're better than, or they're less than. It's not about that. We're humans. We're all equal.
100%.
No one's better than anybody. We're all the same. We're humans that just go through pain and suffering, like my brother says. But if we don't have the mindset of approaching honest conflict and have the mindset to be able to be honest about ourselves with someone else, is zero chance of ever growing and getting out of that dishonest harmony. It's just there's no way. And I think some people, that's why they live in a bubble, right? They have the same political grant. They have friends that both like the same Packers. They both like the Packers. They both like conservatives, or they both like the Vikings, or they both like the liberals, or they both like the Twins, or they both like fucking...
If you look at the best leaders of history, they're all pretty candor.
Yeah, especially, I mean, if you look at politicians... So that's an
interesting concept to lean into. Leadership and being candid are kind of like go hand in hand.
Yeah, they do. I agree, but you see, also those same leaders, though, they're not attacking people ever. Like, if you look at Obama, he was a great example of someone who wouldn't sit there and attack someone.
I won't look at Obama as that great of a leader, to be honest.
I think he was a
great president. I love Obama.
I'm not even saying he was a great president. I'm not even saying that.
I thought he was an amazing president.
Some people would say he wasn't a great president. I think just the way he conducted himself, he wasn't someone that ever got... He was a pretty emotionally stable person that got his point across and never had to verbally attack someone.
But these are great points. America lacks leadership, folks. Our leadership is failing.
Yeah, they just attack each other. They just call each other names. Trump calls any woman nasty, and then these other women call him a sexist pedophile or rapist or whatever. And I don't know what's true these days. Like, if Trump really... I'm not trying to say he did those things or he didn't do those things. But what I am saying is these people, these leaderships that are supposed to be leaders, they're setting a horrible example for young people and children. Like, this is what you do? You guys just sit here and pay millions of dollars for campaigns just to attack the person. That would be like us creating a media campaign attacking other media companies.
So that's the point of why I do what I do. I'm a leadership brand here at Weirman Media. I believe in it. So in the future, moving forward with AI and intelligence and robots and technologies, individual human traits are going to become even more valuable and even more crucial. So moving forward,
they are. That's true.
Moving forward, humans' intrinsic values are going to start to become incredibly valuable. They're underappreciated. The most underestimated asset in America and the world is the human. In America, the most valuable asset are human capital, the individuals and our intrinsic assets and our intrinsic values and characteristics. So leadership branding is the future. And everything that you do, you should lean into your shortcomings, your defects and failures, and be a leadership brand. You should share your purpose, your values, your vision, your story, and connect with others so you can inspire them and develop an influence. That's how leadership, and that's how you change and help people and bring value and guidance and direction. So that's exactly why candor and authenticity and understanding that candor and assertiveness is essential to that. And if you look at any of the best leaders, Gary Vee, for me, is the one I would point to. For some reason, I think Joe Rogan's another example. So if I had to pick two leaders, two guys that if I wanted to have as a leader, I would pick Gary Vaynerchuk and Joe Rogan. In my opinion, they're the kind of leaders you need in politics and stuff because they're focused on these concepts and ideologies and principles. And they're honest, they're candid, and they're assertive, and they're intelligent. So they're the kind of leaders I would want.
And I think the key here is, like my brother said, is like we're not trying to play God. You can't change someone. But it's about awareness, leading through attraction rather than motion. So like what he's talking about is just being a practitioner of this and like leading through example, because I can't change someone. Like I don't go into situations trying to change people. My only goal is to hope to bring awareness to someone. Like, hey, if I'm having an honest conflict with someone, just bring awareness. And sometimes
exactly, micro, macro.
And sometimes no matter what you do, someone's never going to change. They're never going to open their mind. They're never going to change. In fact, Gary Vee says like 99% of the people on his channels that follow him don't do all the stuff he suggests. So it's like if you realize that, like you could be sitting here talking about this every day for the rest of your life, and only 1% of the people will probably actually take it and apply it and change it.
Which comes back to what I was talking in the beginning, that only most people are never listening.
No.
Especially the consumer.
No.
They're moving too fast.
But that's rooted in their dishonest harmony, I feel like, because they just don't want to change their perfect bubble.
Well, actually, if you want to look into it and lean into it, I've investigated it intensely. They're addicted to friction-free living. And
yeah, you said they're addicted to comfortability.
The consumer moves faster than anyone. So especially if you look at America, it makes sense. The consumer moves super fast. Their attention span is super small. They're constantly interacting with short-form content and watching this, doing that, watching that, doing that, ordering this from there, eating that there, eating this here, eating that there, and they're moving really fast. Like, that's why businesses have a hard time staying with them, because they're constantly, it's like a hyperactive consumer that's constantly moving from spot to spot, and their attention and their dollars moving all over the place. So it makes total sense, because they're addicted to move. If you're moving that fast, you can never, if you never hit pause, which is the first step of the growth steps, picture a car that's driving in circles at 1,000 miles an hour without a mission or direction or purpose or guidance or anything. It's just going to be operating. You can't listen.
No, I mean, that's kind of why I do like some of the old school lifestyles, like before. Like, it's beautiful we live in a world today with all this technology and stuff, but if you look at like before, in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, where people actually cooked a meal and sat down, like let's look at fast food.
Great.
Everyone likes, I think the best example of what you talked about that's so obvious is just people's addiction to fast food. It's the best example, I think, one of the best.
Well, I think Uber or something. Yeah, but
that's a great example. Just look at fast food, because it's been going on for way longer. And the obesity.
Uber Eats is a great example of it, really.
Yeah, but like look
at what you're doing.
Yeah, that too now. Yep, you're right. That's even more of a newer example, because they don't even have to go to the fast food. So combining buying fast food, and now you're not even going to McDonald's to get the food. Someone's bringing you the fast food. So think about that. Not only are people addicted to fast food because it's cheaper and it's quick, people now aren't even going to McDonald's to get the fast food.
So this is why it's such a great...
Uber Eats is bringing the fast food to the consumer themselves, and it's like, dude, there's nothing more prevalent in our society of like, wow. Like, that's, first of all, it's poison.
It's the complete...
Shout out to McDonald's, though. I do like McDonald's apple pie and coffee.
But we really need to talk about this, because
But that's like the best example. Not only are people getting food delivered to them, they're ordering fast food. They're not even going to get the fast food anymore. That's absurd. Can you imagine someone 50 years ago seeing that happen? They're getting fast food because they don't want to cook a meal. They don't want to take the time to be present and create something, sit in community with their friends and have a meal. They just want to go to fast food and they want to have their not even go there, sorry. They want to order fast food on their phone, at home, in their pajamas, not even getting up off the house. And then you wonder why we have a country full of people that are obese and they don't work out and they're depressed and they don't do an inventory of their life and they sit there and they don't grow, and then they're just like, that's like, I feel really bad for someone like that, dude, because that was me in my addict state with drugs. But if you look at it with fast food is the biggest drug right now out of the like alcohol and drugs.
Not at all. It's not the addiction. So that's exactly right. This is exactly great show. This is going to be huge. This is incredible value, dude. Because what you just talked about is the exact example of Americans being addicted. This is why everything I do, this is what it's based in.
I shouldn't even go to McDonald's anymore, actually.
It's addiction to friction.
I'm contributing to it.
It's addiction to friction-free living. So I have a statistic I want to bring up.
He's busting out the stats. Now we're getting to some real shit. We're not just talking about opinions and perspectives anymore.
So 68% of Americans can't afford $500 unexpected expense. So here's the primary point I want to make.
Can you say that one more time, please?
Here's the primary point.
Wow, that's crazy.
Primary point I want to make from all this, folks, is 68% of Americans, a $500 bill would put them in debt. So the point from all this is Americans are addicted to friction-free living and comfort and being stuck and stagnant. So when you look at this as a consumer, this is a really big issue. This is huge. This is everything that I've ever done and learned and investigated. We are addicted as a nation to consumer. We're a consumer nation. We are addicted to anything that removes friction from our life. We're addicted to speed. And once you see this, Isaac just gave great examples. America is addicted, so it's blind. They lack awareness to their misperception and unhealthy relationship with time and speed. So when you have an unhealthy misperception of your relationship with time and speed, you're time poor. And when you're time poor, you pay for processes and items or services that you think bring you back time.
Yep.
So when you look at this, it's really an unhealthy manipulation of the consumer in our nation happening at scale. It's people, based on that statistic, 68% of them don't have the money, right? They're living beyond their means. They have financial debts, obligations, and liabilities. They're living a consumeristic lifestyle, addicted to spending, and friction-free comfort. Easy living where they're time poor. Now they don't. So you're time poor.
But they don't see anyone's wrong with it because everyone's doing it. So because everyone's doing it, they're following the behavior. Their kids think it's fine because their parents do it, and their parents' parents do it, and their uncles do it, and their friends do it. Like everyone's doing it.
It's a really big issue because ultimately you can't see the misperception and the unhealthy addiction to something until you hit pause.
Everyone's doing it, dude.
It's just like a drug dealer. Once you see this, it's everyone in America. So that's why when you start to realize the growth steps apply to everyone in the nation. It's everyone. Everyone's addicted to speed in America. Even I am. I'm addicted to speed. Like I love friction-free processes. If you can remove friction from my life, it makes me, I love it.
Well, let's look at it this way, dude. Not only are they getting the food delivered to them, but they're watching a movie on Netflix at home on the couch, or they don't even have to pick up to go buy a movie. They don't even need to go to the movie theater anymore. They can stream everything live on their TV at home while getting their fast food delivered.
Yeah, Nikki, exactly. Friction-free living. This is exactly my point of government and governance and why we need less government, because lack of growth comes from friction-free living. And technically, the Blue Party, which we talked about yesterday, is more governance and more help for the people so they have less discomfort and less pain and suffering. Nobody's getting uncomfortable, and that is correct, Nikki. I would agree 100%.
Well, you can still have law and regulation and have people be uncomfortable.
But in general, the concept...
You act like you can't do that. It's impossible. It's not true.
Well, if you started adding more... I mean, look, based on what we're talking about, if you added more to what we already have...
Oh, Nikki, this isn't even a hard conversation. This is easy for the Weirman Bros.
Easy peasy.
We can really talk about... Well, we talked about politics yesterday. What's a hard conversation? What do we can talk... I mean, I don't even know...
This is all soft. This isn't hard. This is life. This is... But, Nikki, we appreciate...
All right, if you want to have a hard conversation, we're going to start talking about the Vikings.
But we appreciate...
That's a gosh dang hard conversation.
We appreciate your attention, Nikki. Very much so.
If you snapping, I'm chatting. I think that's your Snapchat name. Shout out Snapchat. Snat out, Nikki.
All right, well, ultimately, this is great dialogue and conversations because what we finished up with, I never thought it would have led to that, but it all led back to basically everything I freaking believe in.
Tommy Harn is right. This pandemic is going to change a lot of that. So I think that's what is changing. The pandemic's progressing this extremely fast forward.
Yeah, and if you tune in...
Like 10 years. This would probably be 10 years later from now if it wasn't for the pandemic.
So if you tune in for our shows regularly, you've heard me articulate that point, in that the fact is that I think that this is actually a beautiful thing that's producing growth and change and evolution. and it's gonna push you.
I wouldn't describe it as beautiful, but I guess you could.
Well, when my mom died, it's probably one of the most beautiful things that ever happened to me. My mom.
I wouldn't describe it as beautiful. I think it could be a good thing, but
it was the best
I just
thing.
can't describe it as beautiful to me.
It was the best thing that ever happened to me in my life.
Yeah, it was definitely a good thing that happened to me too, but I would never describe watching someone you love die as beautiful.
But there's the point I'm making is that sometimes the best things for us are the most ugly. The ugliest things are the most beautiful because they force us to have to change and grow and evolve.
Yeah, I get it. I just wouldn't use the word beautiful, but I get what you're saying.
Well,
you're talking about because pain and suffering causes change, and that's with the beauty, because the change, once you change, you begin to become aware and grow and to be the person you're meant to be, and that's what's beautiful. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that pain also is so deep and intrinsic in me that it's still with me. That moment was so powerful, it's still positive, and it's positive for me. It helps me motivate me. It gives me anger. It gives me ambition. It gives me drive. And that was my ability to feel and connect to others. The ability to feel and connect to others on an intimate level.
Well, I do think death can be, so I think death can be beautiful if we look at it from the lens of precious of... I think
it is beautiful.
I think it can be only through this lens. This is how I look at it. And if I want to make it seem beautiful, if I have to tell in my mind, if I'm trying
I'm not going to say it's not beautiful.
I'm just saying here's how I can frame it in my mind, the perception to make me believe that. Is that life is precious, that nothing is guaranteed, and that being born is a gift, and that if people die, we look at that as part of life, and we can celebrate their life, whatever they did, and then recognize our life can be a celebration, and that because we're such a small blimp on the radar, that death, we have to realize that it makes us important to do what we need to do now and not wait till tomorrow, because we live, like Gary Vee said, we live like we're never gonna die. Like we live like we don't do now. Like just start doing it now, because tomorrow isn't guaranteed. But like Gary Vee also says, like if you knew you were gonna die tomorrow, you'd start doing crazy shit. But the reality is you're not gonna live very long. Even if you make it to 80, that's not a very long time to live. It's just not. If you look at the size of the universe and the galaxies and how long planets have been around and our planet itself, that's fucking nothing, dude.
Nothing.
80 years ain't shit.
But ultimately, he's right. Gary Vee recently had a piece of content go out. Shout out to the man, the myth, the legend, the best, the one and only Gary Vee. He said, someone asked him, what is the best piece of advice you can give me? He said, you're gonna die.
Soon.
That's just a reality. That's exactly right. I have a tattoo on my stomach that says, do or die. Like, either do something with your life or just you might as well not exist. That's what I have etched on my stomach. It was in somewhat of remembrance of Tupac. So basically, Tupac Shakur died on my 5th birthday, and I got the tattoo in correlation to that and understanding that it's like, do something with your life or die trying. And I think it's...
West Side!
Tupac! But yeah, ultimately, Tupac was the best.
Yeah, Tupac's
Resist the
shit.
Temptation, that's my jam. You turned me on to that one. Resist the Temptation.
Oh, he's got about 100 classic songs.
But pop culture, folks, that's great stuff too.
Oh,
but,
we should talk about that one of my next
ultimately,
we're ending the episode here. I'll let my brother wrap it up.
Wrap her up, but ultimately, I think for me, there's nothing more beautiful. I think pain and suffering it's really interesting how beautiful it is. Like you brought that up, like I said, beautiful death. Like
if you embrace it with that mindset,
exactly.
It's about the mindset. It's about the perspective, like Gary Vee says.
If you look back on my life when that happened, I don't think there's anything else that would have, if that didn't happen, that would have propelled me to be the person I am and go take the risk I did and do the things I did and achieve the things I did and be willing to do that because I was that hungry, angry, upset, and mad and motivated to be different because I was angry because of what happened. So like my mom dying was honestly, I don't think there was anything else that could have ever possibly given me that much fuel, ambition, and desire besides that pain. So
yeah, I mean, I definitely think for me, just on a very simple level, like I don't know if I would have I definitely wouldn't have gotten sober at the age that I got sober, and I still might be using today.
I would not be anywhere near the man I am without mom being who she was and then leaving.
Especially when it comes to just being someone who grows spiritually and gets sober, like it takes a lot of people to like it's like the rock bottom is when you decide to stop digging. It's my favorite quote because that rock bottom is when you like, okay, I've had enough pain and suffering. It's highly correlated to pain and suffering, your rock bottom. The reality is true rock bottom is death for anyone, or prison, I guess.
Depends on situation, but you're technically right. But some people, death might be the way out.
Yeah, that's the true rock bottom.
Yeah.
But I do believe rock bottom is when you decide to stop digging. Like, we all can go all the way to the grave, and some people never change and grow. They're incapable of being aware and honest and changing. But the day I decide, or anyone decides, you know what, today is the day I'm going to change, your rock bottom, it can be that moment, and you never have to go back there ever again. You don't ever have to go to that moment. That pit moment where you're just like that worst moment of your life, if you can think about that, if anyone can out there right now, you never have to be there ever again. Never.
Totally.
Never has to happen again in this moment, in that moment, if you say, you know what, this is my bottom. I'm only going up from here.
Only going up, right, Zaya?
But
I think that's
a lot of times,
great point, man.
yeah, and I think some people, they just never get enough pain and suffering. I don't know. Seems like it's never enough. I've seen it in addiction so many times. It's like they just keep losing shit. They just keep dying. People just keep dying, and no one stops.
Yeah, people don't appreciate life. I think an appreciation for life is crucial. I think if people.
But I think a lot of people get in a rut where it's the pain and suffering is not horrible, like we went through, right? It's just that low. It's like a low level where they can still kind of move, right? They're not homeless. They're not in jail.
But what you're talking about is gratitude. That's why you're great.
They're just like this little mid-level, typical American mid-level crisis where it's like they're pain and suffering, but they're like not in a third world country looking for water. They like got their needs met, their basic needs, but
you're starting to talk about exactly
like
right.
that's like it's harder to get someone like that to change because they haven't. They have their needs met. It's really hard to get someone to change when their needs are met. But you know what I mean? I see it so often. It's like you can tell they're miserable, but they still have like
exactly what
they still have a nice car.
This is exactly the point that we're
having. They're just like in this middle level pain, and you're looking at them, you're like, what the fuck are you fucking even mad for?
This is my point. Do you want to list, or do you want to live, or do you want to exist? So existing and surviving and scraping by, or living happy, excited, passionate, doing something you love. Do you just want to you get one life? Life is you won the lottery. So get the statistic. You are more likely to get struck by lightning, I think like 7 times in a row than you are to be born. It is 1 in 400 plus trillion.
That's crazy.
That you are born. So this is a great point, dude, Zaya, because you always talk your gratitude. You always talk about your gratitude list. You started making them years ago. You used to do them. I don't know if you still do, but you're the one that I first mentioned.
Yeah, or I have a gratitude journal.
But gratitude and appreciation for life. If everyone realized how amazing the gift of life is, especially to be in America, I feel like it's like you wake up. If someone told you could have $1 million tomorrow, or you die,
you would not take the $1 million.
You would not take the $1 million.
If someone gave you $1 billion,
$1 billion,
gave you all the money in the world.
Someone could give you all the money in the world to tell you.
Shows you how life is worth more than it's invaluable. There's no monetary value because it doesn't matter. You're dead in 24 hours.
Irrelevant.
But I could have a good party. I tell you what.
I could have a hell of a block party.
You give me 24 hours with $1 billion.
Golly, we're going to have a shindig.
There's going to be some buildings on. You thought that Minneapolis riot was a big deal. Oh, shit.
Yikes, I don't know. That's a little early. But yeah, totally. I agree. It's so true. I didn't realize this until Gary Vee mentioned it in one of his pieces of content. He's like.
Makes sense.
Life is 1 in 400 trillion. Like, that's a blessing to me, and I feel so grateful to be alive and in America. So that's why I try and focus on like appreciation. That's what mom dying really helped with, appreciation for life. So ultimately, we touched on a lot of really great stuff. We started off with the concept of what we honest conversation
has better social value than
dishonest harmony. And I think this episode is a great example, folks, of just that. We started an hour ago talking about that topic, and we covered a lot of amazing, valuable, insightful perspectives that come from 2 different guys' backgrounds that have been through a thing or two. It's our perspective. It's our realities. It's the lives we've lived and the experiences we've had as practitioners of life in different arenas. And we're 2 brothers that also have a lot of similarities, but also have lots of differences. So we have 2 different perspectives to bring forward via those avenues, which is incredibly valuable if you realize it, because we all as humans have values, and we just need to start sharing them. Every single human out there has a talent or some kind of skill, whether it's toenails, painting hair, painting whatever.
Toenails?
Painting toenails or painting fingernails, or doing tile, or my dad's a carpenter, or if it's articulating a point or writing a point or whatever it is, designing a logo, designing a web page. Everyone has a skill, and you can use it to share that value with other people, no matter what area or idea or concept it's on. So you can share value with others, and that's where you start to feel purpose. So I don't know. I think that's pretty much the example of basically everything that we talked about in this episode, and that's what we believe in here at Weirman Media.
Yeah, I think you summed it up pretty good, man. And I think if you don't know what that is, just kind of think about what you think about a lot. Like, whatever your thoughts, gravitate to, whatever that passion is, that's what you should do. Just try that out for a while. Like, you can just be aware, inventory your thoughts. Like, if you're always thinking about going to the gym, damn, that probably means you're kind of passionate about the gym. Try to go down that app, like, because like you might not even know you have a skill, or you might not have crafted that skill, but how you craft that skill is do it consistently, and how you start with that is be like, well, what am I passionate about? And if you don't even know what you're passionate about, just think about what your thoughts are. Like, I'm thinking, I realize when I start working out a lot and I get back in that, I usually keep thinking about the gym all the time. So it makes me realize how much I love working out and how fun it is. And I love pushing myself, and I actually love the discomfort of burning.
Conditioning and fitness.
I love burning my arms out and seeing my body grow. Like, whenever I get working out again, and I think a lot of people can relate to that. Like,
100%.
and it's a great example of what we're talking about. And I think it creates an edge. No matter what I'm doing, if I'm killing it in the gym, it makes me feel like no matter what I'm doing, I'm going to be better because I'm practicing the growth steps in the gym. Whenever I fall off my exercise, I'm not the same person. I lose the edginess to me. I almost become soft, and I'm like aware of it in my brain. I'm like, oh man, I'm fucking soft. And it's kind of ego, right? It's like, yeah, I'm not hard, I'm soft, I can't pump 40s anymore, whatever. But it's true at the same time. Like, that edge in the gym, like The Rock is one of my favorites because it's true. Because that mindset carries over. Like, if you start your day, or at some point throughout your day, you do that gym activity, for me, it carries over to my whole life.
100%.
It's hard to explain, but
what you're talking about, though, is the great example. It's conditioning and fitness, and then you're seeing the results.
Yeah, but so it's like that can be applied to anything. It might not be the gym for you. Whatever you're thinking about the most, just start doing that. That's what I'm saying. Like,
you got a great point, folks. You don't know in life the taste of something until you taste it.
No, but to start it off, it's just inventorying your thoughts. Like, what are you thinking about? What are you daydreaming? You're at your job right now that you don't like. What are you daydreaming about? That's what you should start doing.
100%.
That's how I realize that's my honest inventory, is just inventorying my thoughts every day. Like, when I go to bed at night, I'm like, what the hell was my mind wandering about today? And if you do that every day over a couple months, it's like, oh shit, I should start fucking making a podcast. Because I keep thinking about, I'm watching the Two Brothers TV, and I want to make my own podcast about softball because I love softball. Shit, that's probably what you should do, because every day you're thinking about how much you love our podcast or hate our podcast.
Or either way, love or hate it.
Or you watch our podcast. Sorry.
We appreciate it.
Attention is all we care about.
Love or hate it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It.
I actually love, we'll sum this up because we'll go on rants, but I actually love haters more than anyone. I love haters.
100%.
I really do, because I look at it as an opportunity to engage someone and have honest conflict. Let's bring this very specific, wrap this up. I think that's the best way is on social media to take that honest conflict, because I see it so much on social media right now. It's funny, people don't want to have honest conflict in person.
But then they will.
On social media, they're fucking Mr. Badass.
Oh, but they can't get on a camera.
Yeah, so that's really a great point.
Oh, you're a gangster in the comments.
So
I love this dialogue.
That's another.
You're a gangster in the comment section.
So that's another thing. So when you see that on social media, engage with them in a non-attacking way, and hopefully try to get them to realize that, why are you so fucking hateful? You're spending your day to take 10, 15 minutes to just talk shit or hate or act like you know more. Like, is that how you're going to spend your day? Like, it should be given love. So when someone attacks me and puts hate, I'm like, wow, man, I engage. Because that's like, dude, what is going on here? I love it because they're giving me attention. And it allows me an opportunity to serve and hopefully bring awareness.
And they don't even realize that you're doing when that happens. It's so magical. Zaya's just killing this.
We've already seen this with our podcast. With our clothes. Some dude was trying
exactly. This is exactly the example of why we do what we do and what we're doing. Is what he just said is it's an exact example of the situation of us trying to bring value and perspectives and principles on topics, ideas, or solutions to others. And then when someone shows up in the comments randomly and dogs art and ambiguity of art and expressive and creative expression and creative open-mindedness and creative collaboration of multiple minds, that's the primary example of someone egotistically trying to impose their will and be right about someone else's creative, open-minded ambiguity in art.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane.
So, and bring compassion to those people, bring love to those people. It doesn't mean that you're going to agree with them. It doesn't mean that you're right and they're wrong. We're just trying to engage with those people, because too many people on the internet care too much about people, and they're afraid of people hating on them. And then too many people on the internet should run their fucking mouth when they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And if you see them in the streets on person and you try to engage, they want nothing to do with it. Or if you invite them on the show, they don't come on the show. Or if you offer them some of your swag, they turn it down and mock you and think you're stupid.
You can't do that. You can't. It's just
like, but you have to understand, this is, again, that person's lacking awareness. There's something wrong with them that they're hating on. And they feel like they
got this stunting shades
but
on.
they got to attack you. So people, love the haters.
I love
them.
It's a great point.
Love haters.
Great way to wrap it
and
up.
if you don't have any haters, that means you're not doing anything.
Exactly.
You should embrace haters. Kobe Bryant says they only hate the great ones.
If you think
Remember
about
that.
It's why I'm a
only
fan.
the great ones.
Greatness.
Only great ones get hated. People hate Kobe. People hate Jordan. People hate
Mayweather.
LeBron.
People
Why
hate
would you
Mayweather.
hate any of those guys? They're amazing.
The best. People hate Tiger.
So
People
I
hate
don't want to
Floyd.
keep. Yeah, I don't want to keep.
I think
rambling.
that was a great way of wrapping
But
it
I
up.
wanted to wrap it up because I think that's the most common example that anyone can relate to is social media with this honest conflict. It's just hilarious though that in person it's dishonest harmony, but people on social media, they're full ready to get out of the dishonest harmony. They're just full-fledged, I'm gonna fuck you up.
Well, yeah, folks, your attention is our oxygen, and I think that was a great way to wrap it up, Zaya. We love it or hate it. We appreciate it. We value your attention. So we greatly appreciate you. Ultimately, me and my brother have our perspectives. We're not saying we're right. We're not saying we're right. We're not saying we're wrong. We're sharing our perspectives. We are very passionate, and we believe in a lot of the things that we've experienced because we've been practitioners in life, and we've tasted quite a bit of different arenas. So ultimately, that's our value that we try and share and bring forward in an honest, candid, vulnerable, authentic fashion. And that's what we're doing here at Weirman Media on a daily basis with the Two Brothers Duo and the Two Brothers TV. And you can find us on pretty much every social media platform and avenue, whether it's the written word, photo, or video. We're trying to share our message as regular and consistent as regularly and consistently as possible. And you're going to be seeing a lot more of it moving forward.
Hey, shout out to Del Bacon. He said he wanted us to fight. We don't believe in violence, but for $1 million, me and my brother will step in the ring and practice some honest conflict. We'll take on the Paul brothers. That's what we'll do. We'll have to be the Weirman brothers.
I really don't think that they would like to see. I think what you just painted would be a very gruesome fight.
Yeah, we don't want to do violence, but I mean, I think for $1 million, me and you would go against the Paul brothers.
But if he did, oh man, I think it would be worse.
We're talking about boxing here. I'm not talking about you MMA.
Oh, got it.
Boxing.
I was gonna say we're
not doing MMA, bro. That's too hardcore here.
Me and my brother did MMA.
We got two pretty faces, man. Boxing's not gonna really fuck up your face too much. You got big 16-ounce
two guys that pretty much would never stop. So.
Well, first of all, your weight class is higher than me, so that's why I think it wouldn't work out because you would have to drop 40 pounds for me to have any chance. Because I'm not gonna fight someone 40.
But either way, it doesn't matter. Take weight class out of it. We're OGs.
I'm just saying, I'll do it for $1 million, man. I'll find anyone.
It would be pretty entertaining, I bet.
Well, we could use that money. We could look at the Paul brothers. They fight and they're smart.
Yeah, I would challenge the Paul. I would join you on that. I would take on any of the Paul brothers.
Yeah, the Jake and
all day.
Logan Paul. Shout out to the Paul brothers.
Shout out to the Paul brothers.
We'll do it.
The Weirman brothers.
Tag match. Let's do a tag match.
Well, that's nothing. I've done 1 on 12.
We'll do a tag match.
But yeah, the Paul
brothers.
Where are the Paul brothers from?
They got a lot more money than us, so they probably won't. We gotta get our following up before they.
We gotta get
their attention.
Yeah. How do you get people's attention?
We could do a challenge video and send it to them.
Candid, honest, vulnerable content.
Let's go on their podcast and challenge them live. That's what we'll do.
No, I love y'all. We love your attention.
All right, guys.
Thanks for tuning in.
All right, bye. What if we went on the Paul?
That was a great episode.
What if we went on their podcast and then we didn't tell them we were going to do that and we challenged them live, him and his brother?
That was a really good. I like how you finished with that. That was hilarious.
With what?
That was good.
Oh,
my video ended somehow.
Why?
I don't know.
They probably don't allow videos over 60 minutes.